Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. I've just come on this evening to do a bit of a live video about Stargate. Basically because, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like something is happening with Stargate at the moment. You also, if you're a regular Sidetracker, you know everything that I've been talking about for the last few months. But today, or in the last couple of days, Joseph Malozzi has started being a little bit more open and talking about Stargate. He today released the front page, doesn't actually say anything, all it says is Stargate, series title blacked out, and then basically series 1, episode 1. But it's the front page of Brad Wright's script for Scarlet for the pilot show. He's also tweeted or responded to a couple of tweets, some guy asking him, are we going to find a response for, an actual end to SGU? Are we going to find out what happened to Stargate Atlantis after, it was just left in the middle of San Francisco Bay? Hi, Shelley, how are you? Good evening. John C., you are right, it cannot. The thing is, I feel like something is about to happen right now. If you are a regular Sidetracker, you'll know that I've said that there are big meetings happening in November. So, sorry, big meetings did happen in November, and meetings are going to happen now April 4th. A lot of big executives from MGM and Amazon are going to be at those meetings. Stuff is going to start being decided in those meetings. They're going to start looking at the projects that they've, already got in motion, which there are a lot of projects in motion already. And they're then going to start thinking about green lighting moving forwards, because at MGM, a lot has been on hold in the last few months, basically for the last year. So all of a sudden, Amazon, who completely controls MGM, can start actually signing some checks and getting some money spent. That's what we want. Now, I've been told repeatedly, get into the comments, tell me if you want me to go over how the sources and why I started talking about Stargate in the first one, because I could do that again. But I've basically been told by people I work with that work in and around MGM, that actually Amazon really, really find Stargate to be one of the big 3 projects they want to push forward with. Now, Malozzi starting talking about this today does seem to, I don't know, it just feels like something is starting to get going. Some momentum is starting. Right, so the sources I started speaking to. About 8 months ago when I started Sidetrack, I did a video on how MGM were planning to bring back Stargate, a live-action TV series and an animated TV series. Now, this was based on a story by Giant Freaking Robot that got spread everywhere, and I fell for it, not realizing that Giant Freaking Robot are a bunch of clickbaiting idiots. But anyway, I then got a message from just somebody randomly. They basically said, this story isn't true. It was about 6 months ago or a year ago, before the old executive in charge of scripted work, BBC fiction work, lost his job and was replaced by Steve Wright. When Steve Wright came in, he basically said, we can't do an animated series. We haven't got the skill to do an animated series, and nobody wants to see that crap anyway. So let's just go with the live action series. And basically by then, Amazon deal has started to go through anyway. So everything got put on pause. I responded to this chat because I've tried to respond to as many messages as I can, but something about this message though as well was so sort of like determined. He wasn't just sort of saying, I don't think that. He was just like, no, this is this. Now it's true. Now it's not true anymore. So I responded to him and got chatting to him. Now it turns out this person doesn't actually work directly for MGM, but he works for a company close to MGM that does a lot of legal contracts and things like that. So he gets to see a lot of what's going on. I keep saying he. I'm not actually saying whether it's a he or a she. I'm trying to protect this person's identity, but I keep saying he out of habit, sorry. He basically gets to see a lot of what MGM are doing through the contracts that they're putting forwards. So it's contracts for everything, employment contracts. The person that cleans up on the sets, the person that does the, like the food trucks and props and blah, 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 blah. All of this has to have a contract. And all of this goes through this one company. There's 2 or 3 companies that actually do work for MGM doing this. Through that chap, He then got me in touch with somebody that actually does work directly for MGM. You're very welcome. I'm doing my best, and that is the cutest dog. Who one person that works actually with the is involved in the creative side of things. One person that I cannot tell you what they do because it's quite a specific job, and if I give you any details about this person, I think they would be able to be identified. I have got a funny story to tell you about that in a second, which I will. And a fourth person that again doesn't actually work directly for MGM, but works for a company that do work for MGM. They actually also do work for Disney and a few other companies. It's to do with technology and stuff. He's basically an IT geek. So, will the new Stargate have more diversity? Probably, because we know that's the way it goes. But there's quite a lot of diversity in Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis anyway. I mean, there's quite a lot of lots of different ethnicities in that, so I don't really think that's a problem. That's my place. So basically, yes, those are the 4 people I now speak to regularly. The one chap in particular has been a bit of a gold mine for information because he gets to see lots of bits of things that are going on. Tonight, I'm going to try to go through, though, in a second, what do we know for certain and what's rumour? Because I know at times I have done videos and I've got quite excited about the video. And I just tell you guys, because it's coming from MGM, it's coming from sources close to MGM. So I just tell you, I think even though that's a rumour, it's a rumour coming from a pretty good source. It's information that is knocking around MGM. So we'll try to go through and figure out what's actual fact and what is rumour, but rumour from a pretty big place. Jason Momoa is one of my favourite actors, and I always knew, Mark, that he was going to be massive. As soon as he does that big grin in Stargate Atlantis, I think everybody knew he was going to be massive, and I think he's just great for everything he does. And good evening, Ian, a regular side tracker. Thank you for joining. So, what do we know for fact? So, or at least what do we know from fact from what I've been told at MGM? There were meetings in November between Amazon and MGM executives. At that point, that was mostly business meetings, I have to admit, but executives in charge of these things did meet and did discuss certain projects. At those meetings, the Amazon executives did raise concerns that Brad Wright's script for the pilot wasn't maybe grand enough, that it was written at a time when MGM was still £2 billion in debt, owned by their debtors, and it was written to a budget. This, got to remember, this pilot script is nearly 3 years old. So they just raised those concerns. Since then, basically, conceptual art for the script that he wrote, the initial script. Basically, what we're doing? Preliminary rough storyboarding's been done, and some concept art for these pitch meetings. They're going to be happening in April, early April, starting from April 4th. Now, we do know, or I've been told, that at least one day, some point next week or the week after, has basically been put aside for 2 or 3 projects, and Stargate is one of them. And there will be pitch meetings those days where this very early preliminary storyboarding and some concept art is going to be presented and used as part of the pitch to these executives. Now, we do know as well that there are 2 scripts that this is being done by. So basically, they're doing concept art and very preliminary storyboarding for 2 pilots, Brad Wright's pilot and another one. Now, I've been told, but this bit is a rumor, that Joseph Malozzi's name is attached in some way to that second script. It doesn't necessarily mean he wrote it, but in some way it's attached to it. So that part is a rumor, but we know these meetings are going to be happening. Something else we actually do know, and has been sort of semi-confirmed by Brad Wright, is that Amanda Tapping and Michael Shanks have both been approached to appear in this new series. Michael Shanks has also been approached to possibly direct episodes, and Amanda Tapping, according to my source, has been approached to do a lot more than that, to potentially be a producer, maybe even executive producer on the TV show. By the way, if you've got a drink, crack on, because I'm going to wet the whistle. Sunday night, at the end of the day. I've got no work tomorrow, so happy days. So that's what we know is fact. Those things have happened. These people have been approached, and Brad Wright is pretty much Stargate pitched me to pick the football teams. I'd take Michael Shanks with my first pick, and then it would be Jason Momoa. I want him in goal. So some also things that we do know at the moment is that Amazon have actually sent out a bunch of surveys in the last 2 weeks. Those surveys is something they do all the time. They love meta information. They love data. They love anything they can put in a graph, basically. And those surveys have asked, do you like watching Stargate original? And do you want to see more Stargate, as in new Stargate? I've had 2, 3, 4 subscribers now come to me and actually show me these surveys, so I know that's actually happened. The rumours, though, get a bit more fuzzy, because people hear things knocking around the offices. How did I get in touch with my contactors? I did just say, but the first contact, he actually messaged me. He just left a comment on the video I did. The video I actually did that got me noticed. Basically, it has had like 100,000 views, and it's embarrassing because it's got 100,000 views and a video that's wrong, which is quite frustrating. But yeah, he just contacted me. This chap has actually said to me as well that he has actually contacted Gateworld and left comments on Gateworld messages, but they never answer. They don't reply. So I don't know if you've ever left messages on some of these larger Facebook and these YouTube channels. They don't really reply a great deal, and I try to reply to everybody. Panther Pickle has just confirmed that's great. You're my 5th person that has told me that, so that's great. So we know that's happening. So yeah, they got in touch with me, and then he helped me through other sources to like I say, make this little bit of a network. I am actually speaking to somebody new as well that works reasonably closely with Disney, but again, it's one of these people that sort of like works in and around. It doesn't actually work directly for Disney themselves. I was just going to mention, actually, Sidetrack has actually been mentioned in a memo, apparently. This is quite funny. I quite like this. There was apparently a memo put around, and a lot of MGM employees got, basically saying to remind them not to speak to YouTube creators and YouTube channels. Gateworld was obviously mentioned, so you do not speak to these people. You're not allowed to. Reminding them about the NDAs. But apparently, according to this chap, Sidetrack was mentioned, which, if it's true, my piddly little channel got mentioned in an MGM thing. If that's true, that's made my month. I would love that to be true. Like I say, they've told me it is, but who knows? So, moving back to the rumours. One of the rumours we've got is that Roland Emmerich actually, in the November meetings, did apparently pitch, have 2 or 3 pitch meetings to MGM, talking about projects he wants to do in the future and things like this. But one of the things he apparently did was pitch the original Stargate trilogy that he planned. So the Stargate movie, the original one, Kurt Russell and etc., was written by Dean Devlin and produced by Roland Emmerich, was supposed to be a trilogy. Back a few years before the movie started, Roland Emmerich was hoping to make the sequel, but obviously they decided to go with the TV series instead. Now, actually, about 2006, I think it was, somebody could probably correct me, they considered doing this again. It was going to be a hard reboot, and they were actually going to make the original Stargate movie again, and then the 2nd and 3rd movies. Now, at the time, I believed that actually, and I was told that this was done because they were considering a hard reboot again. And apparently it is something that's been discussed, but, excuse me, it's not something that is considered to be a very good idea by Amazon. And Roland Emmerich actually kind of confirmed this in an interview about 6 weeks ago, where he said they don't want to make a movie at MGM. They consider the TV audience to be more important, and they don't want to make a film. They're not interested, and I'm not interested in making a movie. But if they do make a film, I'll have to be attached in some way, Roland Emmerich said, because of contracts. So he'd be contracted in some way to work with MGM if they reproduced a Stargate movie. Now, I've been told that there's always been a plan A and a plan B. Plan A, basically, if the sale went through quickly enough, was to actually produce a movie first. and then produce a TV series. Now, Roland Emmerich's pitch was not actually to do with that movie, but what it was to do with was basically the first series of SG-1, the first 3 or 4 series of SG-1 were based around roughly what happened in the first Stargate film. What they want to do, starting off with this new series, is to have it roughly based around what should have happened in the second movie. Now, I've been told that the villain in this is going to be the Anunnaki, which you can go and Google them and find out all about them. But that would be quite rough, I think. And I think it would be inspired by the story of the Anunnaki and these first gods that the Sumerians talked about. I don't see it being much more than that, though, because, I mean, even the Egyptian myths and things were inspiration, but then obviously became the Stargate mythology that we know, and you know, it's only very, very loosely based on the history. So, moving forwards, Amazon would like to do a movie. Now, I've asked why, because it does seem to me the streaming networks are moving away from movies a lot. They, you know, we get big action, we get big movie stars now in these streaming series. You know, Jason Momoa did, is it Saw or See? I forget what it's called, on Apple TV. Chris Evans is about to do a mini series. I forget what it's called. And you know, so that's happening a lot. These mini series of like 10 hours or 10 episodes are like long movies now. They've got the budget of movies. They've got like $15 million of an episode is what's being, like, the Netflix is doing the Last Airbender series, which is going to be a massive flop, I suspect. It's $15 million an episode. You know, just put that in perspective. Stargate SG-1 had a budget of about $800,000 an episode when it was first made. It was one of the reasons why Roland Emmerich had no interest in doing it. He said there was no near enough money to make what he wanted to do, so he wasn't going to do it. We all know what The Lord of the Rings is costing, and whether we want to watch that or not is another thing. Let's keep this on Stargate. So they would like to do a movie first. Now, I'm told they want to do a movie first, though, because that would be a lot more hype. So, and that's what they want. They want to build up a lot of excitement about the TV series that would then follow. I'm not 100% certain if that's still the plan, because now there seems to be more and more talk about the TV series, and I get little rumours and things that I do hear seem to be a little bit more. They're looking at basically what Feige is doing with the Mandalorian series and the Book of Boba Fett, and apparently that's quite liked. They quite like that, and a lot of people around MGM have been talking about maybe that's how the future would be, where you get lots of little series that interlink with each other. You know, like Boba Fett is very much interlinked with Mandalorian. In fact, you could argue, actually I would argue very straight out say, the best 2 episodes of Boba Fett were the ones that had Boba Fett not in them, and Mandalorian was focus. But the stories interlink with each other. And that's basically what this chap I speak to at MGM, he suspects Stargate might end up being, basically. It's like lots of series that run 10 episodes, but we might get 2 or 3 series a year. Different titles, different stories, different bases, but they interlink with each other. And this is something Amazon, this interlinking idea, is actually something they really, really want to do. Not just, they want to link the movies with the TV series if they make movies, but also with things like the game. Now, I've been told that when Timekeepers comes out, this game that Stargate is about to release, that it's going to give us a lot of information about what the then project will be, because Amazon are quite keen for ever Brad Wright or whoever ends up doing with Stargate, that it links back to the game and links in with the game. And we know from what we've seen very early on about Timekeepers is that it's going to be very much a timey-wimey type of thing. It's going to jump around through Stargate SG-1, Atlantis, maybe even Universe. And then I forgot to put my mods in today, but we're getting some unpleasantness in the comments. Block user, thank you very much. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But this idea of it interlinking, basically, as well, the other thing is Amazon look at like what Marvel are doing, and they love it. They really, really want Marvel type project, whereas not in the style, not in the way it's made, But in the way they release material, obviously the movies interlink with the TV series, they all build up on each other, but also having these phases where you'd have a bad guy over 2 or 3 years, say, but all the different projects, yeah, they're trying to take us down, but they'll never shut me up. I'm not going to shut up about this crap, all right? All the inter projects would sort of build up to sort of a Thanos moment, you know, and then they would move on to the next phase. And it seems to be that, again, that's the sort of thing MGM are talking about a lot, not just for Stargate, but for other projects as well. Anything sort of these big sort of projects they want to do, that they hope to have that sort of interlinked sort of way of doing it, which I think is obviously probably the way to go, and probably what they'll do, because then again, they're following what Marvel have done, and what Disney are doing with Disney Plus, and that's what Amazon Prime want to become. I'd love you guys to get into the comments, by the way. Just tell me what you guys think about Brad Wright. Does he have to lead this new project? Because a lot of people say to me that they either want it. I'm pretty confident we're going to get, I'll come back to that in a second, if that's okay. Get into the comments, so talk about Brad Wright just for a second, and then we'll talk about what's going to be happening over the next couple of months. If Brad Wright isn't involved in Stargate, do you think that's a massive problem? Or, I'm not a massive fan of SGU. If you've come in my channel before, you'll know that I'm not a huge fan. So I think he dropped the ball. I think he basically saw Battlestar Galactica, and he copied the style in lots of ways, and he wanted to make something that was a lot heavier, a lot more drama, and I think he failed. I think it was boring, even though it was getting a lot better towards the end. It failed because it was kind of boring. But that's my own personal opinion. Stargate SG-1 is my favorite show ever, you know, but SGU wasn't. And I think that showed in the viewing figures and why it got cancelled. Also, it was a massively expensive show to make. I would agree with that completely. Too heavy, too dark, great acting. But it was an incredibly expensive project. So, if Brad Wright wasn't the lead, would that be a problem? Now, Joseph Malozzi's released this fronting of the script. Now, I've said a few times, and Brad Wright goes on his companion podcast and talks a lot about Stargate. I think a lot he's been trying to strong-arm Amazon and MGM. I think if he was a dead cert to make this show, and he knew he was going to be able to make this show, he wouldn't be saying anything, because the studios don't want him to be talking on podcasts about Stargate and talking about these things. That, you know, they always have a cone of silence over these projects until the green light, until they have their official announcement. So why is Joseph Malozzi talking? Why is Brad Wright talking? Personally, this is only my opinion, I think they're talking because they're not 100% certain that they're going to get their hands on this project and they're going to lose it. And Amazon don't necessarily want them to be involved. Or at very least, if they are in charge, they won't have the control they want. Now, one way they could get the control they want is by getting us on side. Simple as that. So if they can get the fans on side, and we can get and we basically demand it, it really makes them saying no a lot harder. It really makes Amazon, and then if Amazon or MGM then announce that somebody else is going to be running the show, it's going to have to be somebody like Amanda Tapping, or we're going to lose our minds, you know. Ian's got a good point there, though. Maybe it is time for some fresh blood. How would you guys feel about that if they did come out with somebody just completely new? Like, imagine now, Brad Wright is sacked. He's told he's not going to be involved. But Amanda Tapping is going to be showrunner. And she has showrun other shows. The show she's doing at the moment, she's the showrunner. She's been executive producer on a couple of things. Do you think that could work? Do you think people could get behind that? Because I actually think people would be really up for that. My worry is that they'll do what basically they did with Star Trek. a new leader will come in, a new showrunner will come in, and they will mold it away, and they will change things for the sake of changing it, because that's sometimes what they want to put their stamp on it, don't they? They want to put their, they want to be, like, this is what this is what we want to do. So they'll change the Klingons and they'll do something else, and they'll mess with the ships, and then the style of the show will change. They'll tell themselves they're modernizing it, but what they're really doing is just going to annoy us. Now, they will have to modernize some things because technology's moved on. The way we do things is going to be different now. The technology of how they make the ships, and the model and the 3D model and all this sort of thing, it's different now. So it's going to look a bit different. I would agree there, though. It's got to be somebody who knows the show. It's got to be somebody that loves the show, and it's got to be somebody that understands the canon. Because it seems to me with Star Trek, the guy that runs it at the moment knows the canon, but doesn't care enough to actually really stick to it. Now, I'm not a massive one on Stargate. On canon being really, really strict. They mess with canon all the time for the story, to move the story along, for the plot. But there's a line, There's so much you can fiddle with and mess around with, or sometimes they just bloody make mistakes. But there's got to be a line. There's only so long you can go before it starts getting really irritating. Like J.J. Abrams making the Enterprise massive just because he thought it would look better on screen. That's not good enough. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. And my fear is that could happen with Stargate if they bring in completely new blood. So I would prefer if it was somebody like Amanda Tapping that loves the show and that would control it. I would also be more than happy for Brad Wright to come in as the showrunner. He doesn't necessarily have to write the shows and these things. He didn't write a lot of SG-1 anyway. Joseph Malozzi and Ronald D. Moore and people like this did. But he should come in and maybe oversee it. Like with Marvel, having somebody in charge is a good idea. And have somebody making sure the ship stays on the right track is a good idea. But they do that with Star Trek, and look at the shit show that is. Yeah, like I said, we can't Amanda coming in, yeah, Treasure in Space and Out of Earth. Why not? I love the idea as well that we can see something completely different now. Brad Wright is obviously going along the ideas of the Stargate is an open secret now. And I've done a video, you guys go back and have a look if you didn't see it, about the dangers of that, that there's a lot of... We want Star Trek, not Stargate. No, we want Stargate, not Star Trek. Sorry. Too much technology, too much power in humans. We need a villain that's still going to make us the plucky underdog, or it's just going to be Star Trek, and I don't want to watch that. We're going to have starships. We're going to be off-world a lot more. It's not going to be the same as what it was, and we have to be prepared for the fact that when Stargate returns, it's not going to be the same. Good evening, Daniel, a new subscriber. I am very, very happy to see you. One thing I'm going to talk about Stargate Universe really quickly is that I get asked a lot, will Stargate Universe get an end? And I'm actually going to do a video about it in the next few days where I'll go through my ideas a lot more. But Joseph Malozzi basically said today that if Brad Wright's project gets done, we will get to find out where Stargate Atlantis is. And we will get to find out something with Stargate Universe. Now, I personally don't ever see that it could be the Stargate Universe thing is going to have a happy ending. But maybe they could go and at least get some of those people back, get Eli back, go save them. But that could be sort of like a series finale or a mid-season. If we got, wouldn't it be nice if we got like a 22 episode season run? Wouldn't that be nice? And like a mid-season big, the big mid-season episode was they actually figured out a way to go and save the Destiny crew. How incredible would that be? I don't think that's where they'll do it, but Joseph Malozzi has concerned that they want to have an answer to what happened to the universe and to go beyond the comics. I don't know if they'll stay as canon or if that goes beta canon. They say they ignore them, but actually what happened in the comics was pretty straightforward, actually really understandable. So I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. Got to remember, it's been 20 years since SG-1 ended, nearly. So, they're 20 years further on. that was a point I made in one of the videos I did a few weeks ago, was actually think about where they went from start of SG-1, technologically wise, to the end of Stargate SG-1, 10 years. We went from basically not really understanding how the gates worked to having starships with Asgard weapons. You know, they went a long way over a 10-year period. And, you know, where are they going to be now 20 years on? I don't know. July. So, the 25th anniversary of SG-1 coming onto our screens is going to be in July. Now, I've been told, and I'm pretty confident about this, that they are trying really hard to get something on our screens. So basically, at the moment in the UK anyway, you can't get SG-1. You can't watch it on Amazon Prime. You can only watch it through the MGM channel, and then you have to pay for it. Stargate Universe used to be on there, but I think even that's been gone off. I think it's just the first series or first and second series. I think it's just the first series. Stargate Atlantis was on there. That's gone as well. So in the UK, at least, can't watch it. You have to buy them. SGU Conspiracies, unfaithfully SGU. Yeah, they were great. And thank you for the super chat. I've read the SGU comics, but it was a while ago, and I actually quite like them. For somebody that didn't actually like the series, I thought those comics were actually quite clever. I loved how they sort of brought in the original engineers, that they were actually in stasis. I never thought about that during the series, and I'm sure that's where they were going to go in the series. But of course, there'd be people in stasis on that ship that they haven't seen yet. Made total sense. So if you've not seen the comics, give it a go. They're actually really, really good. So this 25th anniversary, though, one of the things that really is we're going to have to see is getting Stargate back on Amazon Prime. We have to remember that the Stargate movie is the 10th highest grossing MGM movie of all time. You know, you wouldn't believe that considering the type of things the movies MGM have done over the years, but it's the 10th highest grossing movie. Stargate SG-1, the franchise, as a value, as a commodity to MGM, is second only to James Bond. It's the most valuable franchise. There is absolutely no way that Amazon Prime will not take advantage of that. I could actually see them doing some sort of documentary, putting something together quickly. I've heard no news on that, so that's just, again, my opinion. But I could completely see Amazon releasing some sort of documentary about Stargate SG-1, talking about how amazing it was over the 10 years. Remembering at the time, it was exactly, that is the point, though, isn't it? People will pay for subscriptions. Well, I'm going to talk about subscriptions in a second. Let me make a note of that, because that's a really important point. Why these shows are going to get made. So, what's my train of thought? I keep seeing amazing comments and I keep losing my train of thought. But sorry. So yeah, the 25th anniversary. I could see them doing some sort of documentary or something. And then releasing Stargate SG-1, maybe in an upgraded, like 4K version, maybe digitally enhanced if they've got time. But that's a big problem. It's what are they going to have time to do? Because we're talking about only, 3 months or something until the anniversary. But what Amazon can do is greenlight Stargate project by that time frame. So one way of getting some excitement, you put Stargate SG-1 back on Amazon Prime. You make a big deal of it. And at the same time, maybe even the same day, you announce that it's there, that we are going to have Stargate back on our screens. Maybe, you know, we could see something like they can announce the movie is going to get made, or they can announce the TV show is going to get made. At the end of the day, that would explode the internet, and that's what they want, because they want clicks. That's what they want. They want people doing this, what we're talking about on here. They want us talking about it. They want hashtag bring back Star Trek. Star Trek, don't bring back Star Trek. Oh, God. Has anybody else really enjoyed the first episode of Picard and now hate it? Is that just me? Bring back Stargate, you know, which is a hashtag we should all use. You know, we really want this show back. And if we demand it, they will make it, because all they hear is cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. How they make it, whether they do a decent project or not, is a completely different story, because I actually fear I actually do worry about Stargate coming back. We want Stargate. Yes, we do. We can talk about woke in a little while, Shepherds, but I have different views on woke, and I do worry about it. But yeah, bring back Stargate. Get in there. So, subscriptions. There's a war going on at the moment between Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Hulu in America, Paramount Plus are the new boys, HBO Max, and it's a war basically for subscribers. The normal way of watching TV is dead. It's going. I'm absolutely certain this is the main reason why Babylon 5 has been, why they didn't go through that onto the CW, is because HBO Max want it. They want shows that are going to get them subscribers. They want big projects, things like Stranger Things, sorry, that's my friend Stranger Times, and a channel that you must go and have a look at. I'll put a link in the description later. But yeah, Stranger Things. Shows like that drag in people. Anything that gets a buzz and gets talked about and gets people excited gets people to then join the channel. And once people join things like Netflix, they very rarely cancel them. It's like a gym membership that you're still paying for from 3 years ago, when on New Year's Eve you really, really thought it was a good idea to start going to the gym again, and you accepted the direct debit and you never cancel it because you can't be bothered. A lot of people still do that, even with things like Netflix. I actually had the Disney Plus subscription when it first came out for over a year. And that isn't exactly, The Expanse is a perfect show like that. Nothing was on Disney Plus for the first year. Once the Fox stuff came in, and it's blown up now, and there's great stuff on Disney Plus. But for the first year, there wasn't really. It was just a bunch of Disney movies. But I still pay for the subscription because I couldn't be bothered to cancel it. People fall for that, and that's a lot of people do that, and that's what they want. They want people to get excited to go on to Amazon Prime, and then they know a good chunk of those people will never cancel that subscription. Excuse me. So that's what they want. And shows like Stargate will bring subscriptions. Now, this is one of the reasons why The Expanse will probably return in some way. Not because it's massively popular, but because the people that do love it, love it. I mean, they're obsessed with it. So fans will follow that. Fans will follow the show, basically. If it, like Babylon 5, has a massive old school fan base, people that absolutely adore Babylon 5 and Babylon 5 show, it's a cult show. If they get that on HBO Max, they will see a spike in subscriptions because people will follow it. And that is absolutely amazing, you know, that people will do that. But that's the way these shows work. That's the way subscription channels now work, because people follow it and then they don't unsubscribe. It's not like a network where you can just turn it off. People don't. So they keep the subscription. Please get into the comments now and say anything else that you want to ask or you want to talk about. Highlight it. We'll get onto it. I'll just have a quick now about the surveys we've done, movie time phones we've done the Roland Emmerich. Furlings. The Furlings. Okay. Have a little bit of news on that. So, the Furlings were supposed to be, if you don't know, I imagine if you're watching this, you do know, one of the most ancient races. So, you know, it's like them, the Nox, the Asgard, and the Ancients. But we never really got to see the Furlings. Actually, we never got to see the Furlings at all. Even though we got an imagining of what the Furlings were. Yeah, Amazon are not stupid. They know that it's one of their biggest revenue streams. It's their biggest, it's going to be a massive franchise. They will do it. Even though O'Neill imagined the Furlings as basically like Ewoks, we never actually got to see them. Now, the one chap I do speak to a lot at MGM, he's to do with the creative side. He's told me that actually there is concept art for the Furlings. That Brad Wright, in what would have been Series 11 if they hadn't got cancelled, was going to potentially bring the Furlings in, and we were going to see them. And some concept art was done. Now, apparently, that concept art has been dragged out of the archives and people have been looking at it. Now, why? I don't know. Is the Furlings going to be in? They probably are. They probably were furry. You know, are the Furlings going to be coming back into this? Are they going to be something to do with the risk of the Anunnaki, maybe? Is it going to be something to do with the Furlings on why the Anunnaki return to Earth or return to our galaxy or whatever? It's an interesting concept. All I know is, again, they've been thought they are being thought about. I am not aware that Chris Judge has been spoken to in any way. The only people I am aware of is Amanda Tapping and Michael Shanks, definitely. But apparently there have been some rumours that Richard Dean Anderson will make some sort of at least passing visit if Brad Wright's project gets done. I don't think he'll be in the show, but I think we'll see. No, not in the show properly, but I think we'll see his face. But as far as I'm aware, no one else has been approached. Even though I think genuinely the I've forgotten his name. Somebody get into the comments, please. Stargate Atlantis, the Colonel. I think he would be approached. I know he's somebody that absolutely adored Ben Browder. You are right, Ian. Ben Browder has apparently been approached as well. Matthew, just joining. Anywhere in the Ancients prequel you mentioned some weeks ago. Also, will you post this live stream so we can watch the full stream later? It will be posted. It gets posted automatically, Matthew. To answer your question there, the prequel. Apparently, that is something, again, that is being knocked around as an idea. That is one of those things that is more towards the rumour area. So lots of things will get talked about in the offices when in a sort of big company like MGM, particularly in the creative department. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to that any of that will see the light of day, because at the end of the day, executives have got to get together and write checks, and if they don't write checks, stuff don't get made. But that doesn't mean I'd love to see McKay back as well. That doesn't mean it's not talked about and these ideas aren't thrown around. One of the ideas at the moment is that if I think this sort of goes back to the Star Trek thing as well, that they sort of want to copy Star Trek, or they look at what they're doing with Star Trek and they're like, let's do that with Stargate. And I wish they freaking wouldn't, because I hate prequels. But actually, a Stargate prequel would be quite cool, I think. Because we've got literally millions of years of stories to tell. They could make little 10 episode series about different bits through time and never mess with canon. They could just add to the story. We've seen little bits of information with very little effort, very little thinking, really. They could go in and do something with Stargate, an Ancients prequel series, without messing anything up, without annoying the fans, and we just love it, don't we? They wouldn't have to necessarily be, they wouldn't have to be big series, big storylines, big story arcs, but something really early. I'd love to see more about how they ascended. When did we get to the point, with them, the ascensions happening? We know the ascensions also happened over millions of years. Things like the Ori, how that sort of that separation happened would be really interesting. Sort of like to get that story and find out what happened. The other thing is the plague. That would be a brilliant little mini series talking about how the plague happened, and how then the ancients sort of reignited life in the Milky Way and stuff. That would be, a fantastic storyline, and something that could be really, really dramatic. All they have to do is make it, and there's so much story there. But to answer the question, no, I haven't heard anything else since. It is sort of very much in the rumor area. If it happens, then I think it would be very much dependent on how successful whatever the new first project. I would agree. Yeah, more Wraith stories as well. I think that'd be fantastic, because how the Wraith happened again as well would be really interesting. Before they went into the first war with the Ancients would be really interesting to see. John Shepherd, Joe Flanagan, thank you, sir. So just told us that. Thank you. Joe Flanagan, I can't remember anything. He was so involved in trying to bring Stargate back a few years ago. I can't remember if I forgot his name. But right, so there isn't anything on that. A Janus Storis arc with Atlantis would be really good. Why not? Exactly. Thank you for the contribution. So, moving on, yeah, that's more into the rumour area. Yeah, we need to get into the sort of the questions now, really, because so get your questions up there. They had a production cut after one and a deal went south. Chris Michael out and he lost a lot of money. Yes, I did hear about that at the time. That was a lot of money got lost there. Ian, we've just mentioned that, but I do think that is a way to go with that. Also, I think a movie could really work well with that as well. A prequel movie, something very specific around how the first gates were built. A Stargate universe, multiverse. We've already seen that in some episodes and some series. So we saw some technology that allowed for a multiverse things and different scenarios. I just hope no idiot thinks to use that like they used it with Star Trek. Let's go through a black hole and have a completely different universe where the Enterprise is 50 times bigger. Let's hope they don't do that, because I want to see a continuity. I don't want to see a hard reboot. I want to see a continuity, and I do not want to see them do a hard reboot because they do some sort of weird timey-wimey change thing. I think it's lazy and it annoys me. I actually think Flanagan was the highlight of Stargate Atlantis, with Jason Momoa. A couple of other characters are actually quite forgettable in that series, but Jason Momoa and Flanagan were fantastic, and I would love to see Flanagan come back. That is again something Joseph Malozzi said today. Are we going to see characters from Stargate return? If they do this thing where they intertwine it, and they want to intertwine it with the game, and they do some sort of timey-wimey episodes, maybe where, because we know you can time travel with the Stargate, so it could happen. Then maybe we can actually see characters from across all of the series. We just don't know. I think a time series where they somehow use Atlantis to rescue the slave group. I'm not quite sure how that would work. Some people have said to me that there's a theory that basically that these two projects were in competition with each other, the building of the Destiny and the building of the City ships. But actually they were millions of years apart. So they wouldn't have been in competition with each other. So I'm not quite sure how the Atlantis would be used, but timey-wimey is Doctor Who. I do love Doctor Who. I used to love Doctor Who, and it just things like that stick in my head sometimes. But yeah. Let's have a look back through, same thing. I want to see a free Jaffa Empire attack Earth, liberate it, and Gaul take over. A resource of their own liberation. We saw a lot of political angst with Jaffa Nation. There's a completely new nation, and they're trying to find their way. We also, have the Lucian Alliance and where that might go. The only thing I would say with that is the ships that we now control are so much more powerful than the Gold attacks and things that, they would get absolutely blasted. The Asgard ships that we got, they would cut through the Gold shields like they're like hot knife through butter. So the Lucian Alliance, I imagine, even though they've got better numbers than us, would if they've got any sense, stay clear. Amazon could just negate over 351 movies for a reboot. Continuation is the way to go for them. I would completely agree with you there. That and everything I've been told. Another thing I've been told recently, actually, is that the MGM employees were very, very nervous about this deal at first. They thought them coming in was going to be a nightmare. But as it turns out, everything they're being told seems to be really good. There's been no large job cuts. Amazon haven't come in and got rid of people. MGM is going to be allowed to continue to operate quite independently. This is a merger. MGM as a company still exists. There's the executives are still in charge there. Obviously, Amazon write the checks now, but the MGM staff that I speak to and the people in around it seem very confident that they're actually going to be allowed to get on with it. I believe that to a point. I think that at the end of the day, whatever MGM do, it's going to be Amazon's whim. Thoughts on the Atlantis storyline from the comic, hidden ancient empires on the moon, multiple styles of gates, easy way to start a series in a format. That is actually something I've built into. I had used Mars. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm trying very hard, and thank you for the contribution. I'm trying to write fan fiction, and my fan fiction. What I want to do is I keep getting you guys to sort of decide where we're going, and I've got as far as the Hammond is on its way to Mars, and there's been a gate or some sort of energy activation that's going to end up being a gate, but on a city ship. But the gate is connected to a different gate network, so, or it's like a super gate network, so it actually connects galaxies and connects far more distance sort of thing. So that's as far as I've got. But yeah, that's kind of stolen from the comic books a little bit. But tell me what you guys think, though. What do you think about beta canon? Do you think that we ignore beta canon because there's been so many books and things written as well? It's, hello from France, Le Medievre. I can't say your name. Le Medievre. I really struggle with names. An NID series would be fantastic, especially, I think we're in a world at the moment where we really don't trust our government. I think trust in the government is at an all-time low. An interest in sci-fi and aliens and things like that is at pretty much an all-time high, and anything with the supernatural and things. So a show like that was sort of like a secret black ops thing, I think people would really get on board with. I think they'll definitely be involved. That's one of the things that I loved about SG1, though, wasn't it? That they actually had that political element. That the senator or the thing would keep coming in trying to shut them down. They kept having to talk about budgets, having budget meetings and things. I always loved that. And then like the NID came in. Chris Rive, will they introduce new alien races or revisit species in the series that they didn't expand on? I honestly think they'll do both. Like the one that impersonated an SG member. Yes, of course, brilliant episode. So I think they'll do a bit of both. Like I said, the rumor is that there's going to be a new big villain. I do think we'll get to see the Furlings at some point, it sounds like. And I think they'll try to expand on other series like the Gold and things. I think I could see the Gold making some sort of comeback in the reboot, because people want to know where they are, and I think it's Senator Kinsey, thank you. I think it's really interesting to sort of touch base on this, because they didn't just disappear. We know there was some living on Earth and things, so the Gold is still around, and they're not stupid. So it'd be really interesting to see where they are now, and would they try to insidiously get power back on Earth somehow, or control the Lucian Alliance again, or something along those lines. It might be interesting. Wasn't the second gate destroyed? Yes, it was. It was destroyed. Amanda Tapping destroyed a star with it, didn't she? That was one of my favourite episodes. So, set in the near future, a post-reveal story dealing with the consequences of an all-knowledge and tech dumped on present-day Earth while we get to run the galaxy. See, sorry, talking this long dries your throat. I think we would. Against the comments again, tell me what you think about if we're going through this storyline that Brad Wright's talking about. The gate is open knowledge. And I don't know if you guys remember a video I did a little while ago that I saw, or I've been told about some of the preliminary art, and the gate isn't at Cheyenne Mountain anymore. It's actually in like it looks like an airport, big glass and steel thing. So it looks like it's an open secret, or not a secret anymore. Also, we've got starships flying around everywhere, very powerful starships. It's not 100% clear how much of the Asgard technology survived, or how much of the Asgard core survived. But we might have that. So we're going to have technologically advanced massively. If you think about how much, like I said earlier, how much do we technologically advance from the start of Stargate SG1 to the end of SG1? It's been another 15 years. So we're going to advance how much further? So what would we do as a species, knowing what people are like, what militaries are like? What would are we still going to be the good guys in the galaxy? Are the Jaffa Nation and the Lucian Alliance actually got something to worry about? Because, like I say, our ships can wipe them out. And we've got the best Asgard weapons they ever developed on our ships now. We can destroy them. We can destroy anything, basically, that we come up against at the moment. So how would we act as a species? Would we be trying to dominate them? Would we just go through the thing? Asgard's from Pegasus Galaxy, the race car from Counter Gas. Wow, guys, you're really getting into the comments there. This is fantastic. I've heard this story before about an idea about a Goa'uld and a Wraith. And again, I think the Goa'uld are going to be trying to do something to get back on top. I'm still thinking the replicators are out there. Again, this is one of those things, is that we're going to see some of the old villains, like we are with Star Trek and Picard at the moment, where the Borg come back. We're going to see that at some point, I think. I found the death of the Asgard. I saw a really interesting video actually on might have been Gate World, but it might not have been, about whether the Asgard actually lost. Because they basically committed suicide, didn't they, to protect the technology, but and the genetics thing. Real life Federation of Aliens. See, that's me. Would it be a federation of species, or would it just be dominating species because we've got the best guns? We've got the biggest guns. I don't know. But guys, that has been a recap of everything we know and everything that's rumoured at the moment. I still think that Cliff Victoria, that nothing's been announced, but there are rumours that it'll be a species called the Anunnaki, which is based on Sumerian history. So please, go and Google that. It's quite a common ancient aliens story, basically. But that's not announced yet. It's just rumour. So we are the fifth race, and we're going to become the fifth race. And I think that would be a really interesting thing to see how we get on with over the next few years. But yeah, so I'm going to call that a night, guys, unless there's anything that pops up quickly in the next 2 minutes, just because I wanted to have this update where we go through everything we know and everything was rumoured. But more importantly, to have a real think about and well, to interact with you guys and sort of anything that I wasn't clear on that we could talk about. And I think we've done that a little bit, which is really great. I'll do these little live chats a little bit more often, particularly when it comes to Stargate, because they're great. If you guys want to do, I would love to do a video where we talk about some of our favourite videos, our favourite episodes of Stargate. I've started to do that already. I did do the first series. I'm about to do the second series. The second series of Stargate SG-1, I was trying to pick my favourite episode, and actually it's hard. It's only going back and sort of looking at them written down that you realise how many really, truly great episodes are in that second series. The first time we see the Asgard are in that series. Thor's Hammer episode is in that series, which is a fantastic episode. There's probably 5, 6, 7 properly outstanding episodes of sci-fi in that series, which I think you always get 1 or 2 in any good show. I did a review on Firefly recently, which is another show that I'm hoping is going to return. I'm 50-50 on that. I may be hoping it's going to return. So I'm in 2 minds about whether I want Firefly to return or not. But if it does, that's one of those series. If you look at what the 14 episodes it did, 3 or 4 of those episodes are truly outstanding. Not just good Firefly episodes, outstanding sci-fi episodes, full stop. The second series of Stargate SG-1 has that, and it's so unusual, and it's really, that is the series for me that made SG-1 a great series. And really, the first series really set the foundation, and the second series they absolutely nailed from beginning to end. There's no filler episodes in that series. It's just great episode after great episode. Okay, thank you guys. Don't touch Firefly. But still, the original Firefly will still be there, don't worry. You can still watch it. It'll just still have some other crap called Firefly that we will all hate. I'll tell you, actually, before I go, we talk about woke really, really quickly. So, I'm not a big... If you've seen my videos before, you'll know I'm not a big believer, and I don't get very angry about woke. People are getting really, really angry about Lord of the Rings. It hasn't even been released yet. I'm pretty sure they haven't even finished making it yet. and people are already getting really, really angry about it. Can I just ask, as a favour, let's not get angry about something until we've actually seen it, and then let's talk about it. Yes, it is. It's owned by Disney. Well, it's still owned by Fox, but Fox are owned by Disney. Yeah, let's talk about. Yes, you are, but I'm talking about your favourite subjects, so we can talk about it. Let's not get angry about something being woke or something being whatever until we actually have seen the show. It doesn't matter what colour people are. It doesn't matter what their sex is. It doesn't matter anything. Let's watch the show with an open mind and then decide whether we love or hate it. Star Trek is terrible. Other shows, Quantum Leap might be great. We don't know yet. I do love Marvel. I'm afraid I'm a huge Marvel fan. I just love, I love everything Marvel. To be honest, the movies, I think they've done such a great job with the Marvel series that you can't ask for anything now. Seeing that we've already seen what it's all about. They haven't even finished making it yet. Let's let them finish making it, and then let's get angry about it. We can always get into these shows, but let's make it first. Let's go with an open mind. It might be a great show. It might be a load of rubbish. I went into Picard Series 2 with an open mind. I hated Picard Series 1. I was so disappointed by it. And I know a lot of people got angry about the woke on that, and I didn't really notice it. I noticed the bad writing and how badly it was made, and I really noticed the end. The last episode was ridiculous. It was stupid. The ships were terrible. The bad guy with the tentacles coming through, that was just bad. The woke bit didn't really bother me. I barely noticed it. Picard Series 2, I thought, no, I'm going to give it a chance. They're not doing another Judge Dredd film, are they? The last one was, I heard about this. Isn't that one of the reasons why Star Trek 4 might be screwed? Because he's going to do Judge Dredd instead. McCoy, whose name is going out my head. It was unfortunate. The end of the series was just bad. But, I've just seen episode series 4, and it's deadly. Picard series episode 1, fantastic. I got so excited. Like, yes, Star Trek is back. Star Trek episode 2, okay, it's not great, but it's still really good. Star Trek episode 3, episode 4. I'm like, for God's sake, they've done it again. It's just like, I just wish they hadn't. I just wish they could stop. Sometimes it feels like they're trying to be clever, and sometimes I just think. Now, it may not bother me, but it will bother the majority of fans. I don't think it does bother the majority of fans. Bad writing and boring storylines bother the majority of fans. There is a loud minority that shout woke a lot. And a lot of the time, you've got a point. But also, a lot of the time, sci-fi's always been woke. It's just a different name for it. It's enlightened. So all the best sci-fi should be enlightened. And there are a lot of writers in all genres, sci-fi and everything else, that are scared to not have black people in and Asian people in and gay people in, because it gets pointed out. Somebody pointed out to me that Friends, one of my favourite TV shows in history, is actually incredibly racist, that there's no black people in it, ever, sort of thing. And it's sort of like, why there's these 6 white people running around having sex with each other constantly? It's like, where was the enlightenment? Never noticed when I was watching it. Didn't care. Now I'm like, oh God, that's good. They got a point. There are TV series, unfortunately, there are writers that are terrified of a minority group having a go at them. And I understand the fear, but it's still there, and it's it doesn't. There's always been good sci-fi, good bad sci-fi. There's always been sci-fi that is trying to ram an agenda down our throat. There's a lot of sci-fi that's very political, particularly during the Cold War and other conflicts that have been used as propaganda. And that is still happening today. It still happens. But that doesn't mean that everything is that. Because the good sci-fi will float to the surface. It's like the cream and the milk, it'll float to the surface. Let's have a look. I couldn't care less about colour or sexual bias of people in the series, but don't make the episode just about that. Get some sci-fi adventure in too. And now I would completely agree with that. I basically think that's two sides of the same coin, though, for me, because I would argue that that's bad writing. When it's Star Trek Discovery, which we know has had this problem, and they make a big point about gender neutral or whatever else, and it becomes a big part of the episode rather than it actually being any story. But it's not the whole thing. It's not everything that happens. That's not everything that happens in Star Trek. They just happen in certain episodes like that. TNG had certain episodes that were like things like that. So anyway, that's my opinion. I don't think it's as big a problem as some people think it is. I think it is a problem. But I really, really think we need to calm down and not scream about stuff that hasn't even been made yet. Let's let them make it. Let's watch it with an open mind. Let's see where we go there. There is a strong... I don't know about a Chronicles of Riddick TV series, Ian, but they are definitely making another movie. Which I'm hoping it's more like Chronicles of Riddick and less like Riddick, because Riddick seemed to me just be like basically a remake of Pitch Black, which I wasn't a massive fan of, but the Chronicles of Riddick is genuinely one of my favourite sci-fi movies. I thought it was great. And the film is going to be called Flurian, isn't it? I think it's Furian. So I think it will be more like Chronicles of Riddick than the other film. Let's have a look. Stargate may have bad timing because NASA will have the hype with the new moon mission, or could go mingle well. We're going to end on this point. Sci-fi is pretty much as popular as it's been for 20 years at the moment. It's massively popular. All of the streaming services are going to have or are going to want a big sci-fi franchise. Paramount Plus, Star Trek, obviously. I think it's one of the reasons why HBO Max wants The Expanse. If Amazon decide not to make it, they would quite happily take it. And why they probably want Babylon 5. Disney have obviously got Marvel and Star Wars. They're greedy. And I honestly think Amazon Prime will want Stargate. Netflix maybe has Stranger Things and a couple of other projects they're trying to do. Last Airbender is saying this seems to be something they're really working on. Whenever you get big excitement, and the moon mission is going to cause that sort of thing, is going to cause a lot of people to be more interested in this. But things like, over the last 2 years, alien sightings have gone up like 200% in New York because people were locked in their houses looking out their windows, and they kept thinking they've seen aliens. Whether they've seen aliens or not, there's big interest in it. Big sci-fi and supernatural shows like ghost hunting shows and things have seemed to be reappearing again on our screens that they didn't before. They were disappearing off our screens, but they seem to be making a re-emergence. A lot of YouTube channels get massive views that talk about ghosts and ghost hunting and aliens and all this sort of thing because people are really interested in it for the first time in ages. All genres and things go through ebbs and flows. Sci-fi drops in popularity, then increases in popularity. At the moment, it's definitely on a massive increase. People love sci-fi, and all these streaming services have to have a big sci-fi franchise. It's just which one is going to be successful. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, I have absolutely adored talking to you guys. I'm going to finish my beer, and I'm going to get some sleep because I've got work tomorrow. Thank you so much for all of your comments and all of your chats. Please carry on commenting and carry on chatting. Anything you want to see or anything you want me to come on and talk about in the future, I will. And any news I get about Stargate, I will get it to you as quickly as I humanly can. Will give you a little tease. We've got a couple of videos coming up. One is about a massive franchise talking about aliens and things. Might be reappearing. Video coming soon. And a couple of videos on Stargate and Star Trek. Thank you so much for everybody that's contributed this evening, and I will see you all really, really soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.